accidents on Indian roads. The word accidents is a misnomer, it is a mislabeling, it is misleading, and in fact, a misrepresentation of the fact. It is a lie. And I will tell you why it cannot be called accidents, but manslaughter. Killing fields, roads and highways become or have become killing fields. This is the nub of this talk. I shall explain why in a moment. But first, the enormity of the problem. 1.68 lakh citizens are killed every year. 1.68 lakhs citizens are killed every year on our roads. That is averaging 461 deaths every day. 19 lives lost every single hour for a whole year. This is the enormity of the killings. All the wars that our armed forces fought from 1947 to the present day resulted in a loss of lives of 8,900 or thereabouts. The exact figure is something that I cannot put my hands on, but there are public records. The killings on the roads, the deaths on the roads is 20 times that. That's not the full story. These killings and these deaths, mainly in the age group of 25, 35, 40, come at a huge economic cost. 7.5% of GDP is wiped out every year. If you want to get a handle, a grip on these figures, it comes to a staggering roughly 25 lakh crores of rupees. I repeat, 25 lakh crores of rupees, because we are calculating, or rather the public records have calculated the productive life of these citizens over the next 30 years. After all, they are in the age group of 25, 35, 40. This is the enormity of the economic cost. When we had all this big news of the Trump tariffs, please remember that even in the best of calculations, it would take away about 1% of our GDP. And remember, this is 7.5% of GDP every year. The defense expenditure in a year comes to roughly 1.8% to 1.9%, according to various, again, public records. This is 7.5%. So, we are losing a staggering 25 lakh crores every year, and this is a result of the fact that India is the country with the highest absolute number of road crash deaths. I've already told you that these cannot be called accidents. And therefore, the question is, why not this thing we call accidents? Accidents are, by that very term accident, they have certain essential characteristics, what I call ingredients. One, it has to be unintended. Two, it has to be unexpected. Three, it has to occur without criminal negligence. Four, it has to be during the course of a lawful act. None of these ingredients are satisfied. And that's why the word accident in this case is misleading. Who are the agents that cause these killings? That is the next question. And who is responsible? There's got to be responsibility. It can't just happen because these are not acts of God. 70% of the fatalities on these roads, which are killing fields, are due to overspeeding. Now, that is something that is preventable by strict law enforcement. But nothing of the sort exists. Where are the speed guns? Where are the tracking vehicles? Where are the equipments that monitor these overspeeding and book these people who are really road terrorists? I see them every day because I do a lot of walking. There is a failure of law enforcement. There is really no visible signs on the roads where police are there all ready to check overspeeding and pull them up and pursue prosecution. But for prosecution, you need all these things as supporting evidence. You need the speed guns, you need cameras and all these things, vehicles fitted so that they can be booked. And there should be visible signs of law enforcement. If police look the other way when there are these road terrorists going as though it is a death wish or something of that kind, then there is disregard and disrespect for the law. And that is a corrosive thing on society because it immediately converts itself into a disregard for law. Be it overspeeding on roads or drunken driving or plain drunken misbehavior. It's all the same. The police have to be not only just vigilant, they have to show the law enforcement being made. It has to be visible on the streets. That is not there. To that extent, if law enforcement is not there for this terrible killing fields, not only in the number of deaths, but in the terrible cost, economic cost to the nation, then you must think of the consequences of not enforcing the law. The responsibility lies squarely with the state governments to see that there is law enforcement in this matter on the roads. So there is a failure of the state administration. It is meaningless to express condolence and shock after a road accident because the state government is itself responsible. Therefore, there is no meaning in that, really. If at all they need to do is to express the culpability and admit to their complicity, which of course is asking too much in our situation. So that is the number one cause. 70% of fatalities due to overspeeding. The second is the engineering failure on the roads. On November 3 near Hyderabad, a truck laden with gravel swerved to the other side to avoid a pothole. It was National Highway 163. And because it swerved, it rammed into a passenger bus and killed 19 people. 19 lives were lost. Now when you trace this whole thing, you will find the pothole as certainly a culprit. Was the engineer in charge for maintaining that stretch of the road charged with crime? I haven't heard any engineers going to jail because of poor maintenance of roads. And yet it is very clear that the root cause of most of these accidents is also due to bad road geometry and engineering flaws and maintenance of roads. The Supreme Court of India had mandated the rectification of what was called black spots. That's the phrase used. But all these things remain unrectified. There is another constitutional aspect, that when we have a situation where roads are not safe, it is clear that there is a breach to Article 21 of the Constitution, which speaks of right to life. The courts have said very clearly that the right to life includes the right to safe, properly maintained roads. And yet this is what is happening. So someone has to be made responsible. You cannot get away by expressing shock and condolences and things like that. The engineer in charge has to be made responsible. The state government has to be made responsible. They should feel the responsibility. This is no small matter. 1.68 lakh citizens dying on roads is no small matter. So, again, the responsibility is there for another wing of the state government. That is where it points to. the law itself seems to be lenient. You do not have, for a problem of this huge magnitude, you do not have a separate legislation for roads and road debts. In the same way as you have POSCO and others, for various situations, various important situations. So the law itself has to be tightened up, and all this trace of leniency, and it's been going on for a long time, and people have been dying, and the huge economic cost to the nation. Always remember, 25 lakh crores every year, 7.5% of GDP. So the law too has to change. That is administration to take care of it. They have all the powers, they have all the information with them, but no action. My next point is what is called no recognition of the fact that out of these people who now are killed, 50% can be saved, because if you use the golden hour, the first 1 hour, and give them all the care required, trauma care, all the vehicles fitted with what is required for trauma, they're rushing to hospitals or rushing to trauma care centers. None of this organization exists. People, some good Samaritans just rush in and get these people onto some vehicle or the other and take them to hospitals. If others hospitals need not be near, can be far. So you're not using the golden hour. This is what administration is for. If things are left to fate, then there is no administration. So the use of the golden hour, that 1 hour critical, which can decide life or death. You can save 50% of those who die. So this is how I would see it. The state government has to take responsibility, not in a broad sense, but in actions. One, law enforcement. Two, making these maintenance and good conditions of the roads the responsibility of the engineers at each stretch, and pursuing criminal action against negligence. Law enforcement has got to be strict. That's how we began. And of course, the utilization of the golden hour by such infrastructure on these roads and highways so that people can be saved. This is what administration is about. So when we see messages and that tired phrase, dedicating a road or a railway line to the nation, we must remind ourselves that all this thing is not necessary. Some roads which are essential will be open. Run-of-the-mill schemes these are in every country. You do not have to have fanfare and all that for this thing. Someone dedicating some road or railway line or something, or a hospital wing to the nation. This is what should go on. It is our money, it is the taxpayer money. And when you say dedication, it presumes that the person who is dedicating is someone who is giving it out as some kind of gift, as something separate. All the ceremony and all this slight emptiness of this whole thing should be replaced by good administration. The administration should do its job. That is what the citizens expect.